Out of all the things he could have said, I would have left that one alone. Quite honestly. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lily. This is Lily's Shelf, and today we were talking about Love is Blind Season 8, Episode 1. Child, I had to bring up my emotional support s'mores cat that hubby got for me, because child, at this point, do we need to close the pods? Do we need to close the pods? Guys, why is this season dragging? I guess because we all know they'll give us like, you know, a handful of couples and probably only like one will make like a true, like, genuine connection, maybe two, but then some foolishness will happen and then we won't even want to root for them anymore. I don't know. But episode 1, we're starting off weak, but we're starting off nonetheless. Before I get into what all we were seeing in that episode, because it wasn't a lot, was it y'all who was telling Netflix that we need to see them more in the like living quarters? Because I feel like that's why this season was dragging so far. Somebody said that we want to see more of them, and so they gave us more of them hanging out in the living quarters for too long. Like, I can see a conversation here or there, but like, dang, I feel like at this point I'm living with them. Like, we get a couple of people, like I said, I like Daniel so far. I was before I watched episode 2, and then I'm liking Taylor. Taylor's energy was good. It was very high. Like, she seemed just very open and a cool person, very chill. Brittany, stunning. I loved her energy. I loved her vibe. Her outfits, her hair, just everything. Loved it. Energy was contagious. Plays and coaches D1 basketball. I thought that was actually pretty cool. I was like, okay, we got somebody who knows how to put it on and off for the cameras, like in terms of like outfits and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. And I also feel like we haven't really had like a woman's coach before, so I said, okay, period. Because now, you know, I'm starting to watch sports a little bit more. Okay, my husband has indoctrinated me. He has. I'm starting to watch sports a little bit more. So when she said she was coach of a D1 or a D1 coach, I said, I know what that means. Honestly, I love Brittany. I love Devin. I love Virginia. When we're introduced to Joey, when he said he was a golden retriever, I absolutely believe him. Absolutely believe him. We'll get into that in a little bit, but Devin, he's 28. He's a youth coach. I like that they brought up the age thing and then they just like swiftly moved past it. You might as well just move on and continue talking and see if the connection is even worth pursuing. Like, there's no use getting hung up on an age gap if it's not going to work out anyway. You know what I mean? So I like that they kind of addressed it and then kept talking, you know, to get to know each other. And then Devin and Virginia go on a date. They seem to be connecting well. Virginia's 33, so another age gap. Devin seems to really like older women. His older women radar it be going off. He said, Brittany, okay. Virginia, okay. Let's see where these go. Like, I love that. I was cracking up. Honestly, Virginia, when she was talking about herself and everything else, the fact that she brought up her dissertation, period. Joey is next. He's 34. Like I said, he is very much so golden retriever vibes. I like his connection with Monica. I feel like Joey and Monica are another very strong couple. And then I also like how Joey talked about his family. And I like how Joey talked about his loss. Now, Joey had 3 sisters. He unfortunately lost one. But you could tell, because last season when Tim talked about his sisters, you could tell that it was still very like raw to him. And then in Joey's case, which ended up, I feel like, being detrimental to Tim and Alex's connection. But in Joey's case, the loss, I feel like, is still raw, but it's not as raw. Like, I feel like he's been able to take the time to really grieve that loss, but also kind of celebrate her life and kind of celebrate the impact that she was able to have on his life while they were able to have her. And then Monica talks about being tired of starting over. without getting a chance to really start. I feel that. She goes on a date with David. And this is when I started not liking David, because when they're on this date, like, David's sense of humor is not my sense of humor, so maybe that's why I was starting to get the ick. But David was like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you here? First of all, why would you say that? Because you are on the other side of this wall, David. So what's wrong with you? Is this where he says, before I get there, David is starting to remind me of, what's his face? From, I think, season 4. The guy, was it Matthew? The guy who played AD. The white guy, him. David is starting to remind me of him just a little bit. Like, I'm getting ick. And then, of course, David is fully introduced to us. He says he's been here, or he says he's here in Love is Blind because he's been an a-hole to women. I can absolutely see that. And quite honestly, I don't see a change. Where is the changed behavior, David? And he also talks about selling medical devices, and so he's seen a lot of like Botox and tummy tucks and butt lifts and everything. Like, he talks like he was in, like, he's on retainer for Dr. Miami. Quite honestly, that's what that's all I was picturing, which made me then picture Dr. Miami and his TikTok with the Duolingo BBL, and I just walk with me. I can see why he acts the way he acts towards women, because he does say that does shape how he expects a woman to look. But that was as far as I could go with him. Like, he kept going, but I had to let his hand go, because I can understand that perspective, but at the same time, those are surgeries. So you know that's artificial in a sense. Like, you know that women come in all shapes and sizes. So you're shallow, because you're basically saying, if you don't look like this, or I guess, are you saying, if you don't look like this, then I'm not attracted to you? Like, and then I don't want to get to know you. I don't care what your personality is. I'm paying you dust unless you are this ideal standard of beauty. Like, is that what David is saying? Because that's what I got. I'm tired of these shallow people coming on Love is Blind and wasting everybody's time. His first date is with Lauren. There doesn't seem to be much chemistry, from his body language to like his one-word answers when they're talking. It's not giving. Like, Lauren is talking, he's sitting there like, yeah, cool, I agree, yeah, cool. You see how my face was looking very disinterested, very disengaged? That's what David was given when he was on this pod date with Lauren. Like, Lauren talks about how she wants to find her person because her parents have given her such a great example of what love is. Molly is next. She goes on a date with David, and I feel like because Molly said that she's never really been in a serious committed relationship, I feel like that's what David leaned forward and was like, a kindred spirit perhaps? Okay. Because you could tell, like, at first he had that same disinterested body language. As soon as she said that, he said, oh, he sat up a little bit. His face unlocked from that, like, dead gaze he was given. And they really started talking. I said, oh, because he talks about his family and how, I think that's when he says that his mom tried to instill integrity in him, and he hasn't had integrity thus far. I'm sorry, that's a wild thing to say. We get montages of the girls and guys in the living quarters. But I will say, I think it was funny because, like, on the girl side, they were saying how, like, if we can't connect emotionally, it doesn't matter what the physical is, the connection is dead. On the guy's side, they're like, yeah, well, I hope we all find a wife. So unserious, like, Because the other guy, I can't remember who said it, but one of the other guys was like, dang, man, that's kind of ambitious. Like, everybody. And the first dude was like, yeah, man, everybody. Like, I just hope we all find a wife. Do, 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 do. Like, that's the vibe that I was getting. Like, the girls are like, all right, this is the plan. We've got to make sure that we connect on an emotional level. And the guys are like, do, 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 do. I hope I find a wife. So then we get to Alex and Madison. Alex is talking about his insecurities. He talks about how he used to have an afro. I would like to see it. Am I being messy? Absolutely. Absolutely. But Alex was messy first, saying that he used to have an afro. I'm looking at his hair texture. Madison is talking about something. She was saying something about she met some people who were teaching English abroad, and they told her that she should come, and so she went and she started teaching abroad. And you see how I sound confused? Because I was. Because honestly, Madison, in that moment, she was reminding me of those people who go abroad and they make it their whole personality. Like, they went to Paris one time. They used Google Translate to order stuff off the menu. But when they come back, all of a sudden, they say they could speak French. When Madison was talking about teaching English and stuff, that's the vibe I was getting. I was dying. But other than that, I feel like their date was boring. Madison and Alex, I feel like their first date was boring. Oh, she does in this episode open up about her parents. Yes, her childhood. Because of her parents and their relationship with drugs. This is when I had to lean back. Because my heart was going out to Madison. Guys, when she was talking about like her mother and her stepdad and her father and the drugs and everything else, like my heart was just breaking for this girl. I was like, my goodness. My goodness. And like it was starting to make sense why she seems not closed off, but like aloof a little bit, because that's what she was dealing with in childhood. I said, my gosh. And then Alex opens up about his bullying, and I do feel for him. I do. I was like, okay, I was walking with them both, right? With the trauma. I said, golly. But then I had to let Alex go, because he was like, because I was with Madison, because Alex was saying how he feels like he can't hold the bullies accountable for what they did. Like he doesn't hold it against them. And I was like, absolutely not. Alex and Madison say that they're at the top of each other's list. I don't know about that. But at the time, we hadn't seen them with anybody else. So, like, I could kind of see it. But at the same time, I kind of couldn't. And then Madison and Mason go on a date. And I felt like the chemistry was a little bit more apparent between Madison and Mason. But I also don't know if that's because they started leaning more on like the physical / like sexual aspects of a relationship, because Mason was gassed. Like, I'm sorry, I've been watching too much UK TikTok. Kutiwa Cakes, I think that's how you say it. I watch her religiously. That's how she be saying it. But Mason was gassed. Like, he could not stop smiling. And they talk about like their work and stuff. His body language, like he was leaning all the way forward. Like his face, like he had a face splitting grin, y'all. Like he was too hyped about this date with Madison. I do like how Madison and Mason do get a little deep, because Mason talks about how he loves nieces. And then Madison talks about how she lost one of her brothers, but she was able to honor him in a way because he loved the Packers. And so she was able to wear his jersey to a Packers game and honor him in that way, because it was almost like she was able to take her little brother to a football game. And my heart, once again, it just, like the more Madison talks, the more I'm like, precious little baby. My precious little Madison, like, oh. Meg and Mason have a date, And I feel like we didn't get to see something. You would think in all, as long as this episode was, we could see like the first date that Meg and Madison had. I mean, Meg and Mason had. Because Mason comes in and he's like, oh, I was really hoping to talk to you again. And I'm like, babes, this is the first time we seen y'all. What's tea? Meg has really good energy, but I also feel like she might be the type who might talk a little too much. I don't know. We'll see. They talk about, and my notes are on my laptop, but they talk about laughing and goofing off with their partner and just being silly, just being open, like not always having to be so serious and everything all the time. And I feel like that's important, because if you can't laugh and goof off with your partner, then, and everything is serious, the relationship is going to start to become stifling, because we can't be serious all the time. It's funny that they said that, because somehow or other Meg starts talking about aliens and Mason is eating it up. Like Meg is just, she's talking about aliens and all this other stuff. Mason is leaning forward like this, smiling like this, just eating it up. He's like, yeah, like the pyramids. How did they make that? And Meg's like, exactly. And I'm like, did somebody sneak? Because Meg says she has sober high thoughts, but I'm like, did somebody sneak something in here? So after they talk about like the aliens and the pyramids and everything else, Meg, I feel like she dropped a little bomb and like swiftly moved past it, because she was saying how because of her lifestyle, her parents firmly believe that she is going to hell. No questions asked. And she was like, it makes me emotional because I'm sad that I worry them to that extent. Girl, forget your parents. Are you okay? Like, Molly and David have another date. I feel like David's connection is stronger so far with Molly, but at the same time, the more I hear from David, the more I don't like him, because they bond over their aversion to exorcisms, which I agree with, because I also believe that like those exorcism movies. But then when she's talking about that, David is like, oh, you sound like my girlfriend in high school. I know he said like her voice sounds like his girlfriend from high school. And I'm like, something about the way he said that, it just was a turn off. I just, Then they start talking about more of like the physical, sexual stuff. They lost me, quite honestly, because they were just talking so long. They were talking about like logistics and stuff like that. And I'm like, girl, this is such an unsexy conversation. David and Lauren have a date, and I feel like David gets more real with Molly than he does with Lauren, because they joke about like daddy issues and stuff like that, because I think Lauren said that her dad's name is also David, and it just stays surface level. Like, I don't hear him bringing up, and I may be wrong, but I can't remember if he brought up like how his mom passed and stuff like that. Then David says, you know, I just get it, because I had a mom and I had a sister. You know, I just get it. I just know what women want. Guys, at this point, the jokes write themselves. Be so for real. Because his examples were not like, you know, I could have understood it more if he had said like, you know, on Valentine's Day, my dad makes sure that my mom and my sister feel special. Like, because I do think you won't, you know, get everything, but those are good foundations to see and good examples to see, so that you can take that into your next relationship. I would understand that. Y'all, he said he gets it because he puts the toilet seat down. Baby, if bare minimum had a name, a face, and a profession, it would be David. But also, it makes sense why David acts the way he does, because he does tell Lauren, when he told his sister that he was going to be on Love is Blind, his sister said she didn't want him to do that because she felt like none of the girls would be good enough for him. That told me all I needed to know. And that should have told Lauren all she needed to know. But it did not. Alas, I like how Daniel and Taylor talk about each other. Taylor is talking about the things that she likes about Daniel, and it's like stuff that he's told her. stuff of substance. Like, you can tell she's starting to really like the personality that he's presenting, whether that's his personality or not. But that's the end of episode 1. So far, I feel like near the end of the episode is when it started to get a little bit more interesting, but we need to cut the length of the living quarter sections because they're too long. And I feel like because they're long, then the pod dates have to be longer. And so then we're there for like over an hour. Like that first episode, I think, was over an hour. And I was like, babes, this is reality TV. This is not that deep. We know what Love is Blind is. We know what it's for. Show us the connections and be done. Like, especially since in the women's quarters, I'm seeing all this diversity. Then we get to the pods and it's gone. Poof. But thank you so much for watching it till the end. Y'all know I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments. Please, no spoilers. I will see y'all in my next one. Bye, guys.
This nugget of encouragement, things will be alright.